They move quietly through the world, observing, registering, calculating, while the rest of us fill the air with noise. You've met them. Maybe you are one of them. The ones who sit at the edge of conversations, listening with an intensity that feels almost surgical. They rarely interrupt. They rarely explain themselves. And yet, when they finally speak, the entire room seems to tilt toward their words. Silent people create a strange effect on others. They are underestimated, misread, or feared, sometimes all at once. But behind the stillness, there is a deeper psychology at work, something far more complex than simply shyness or introversion. Silence, for many, is not an absence. It's a strategy, a shield, a laboratory where thoughts are distilled before they ever become sound. Every quiet person carries a hidden story of how they learn to observe before acting, to think before trusting, to listen before revealing. Their silence is rarely empty. It's often a response to a world that talks too fast, judges too quickly, and rarely listens. And the truth is this: people who do not talk much understand far more than you think. They read tone, they read tension, they read micro-expressions and tiny inconsistencies others overlook. They see patterns, they connect dots, they think in long arcs, while others think in impulses. But here's the uncomfortable part. Their silence isn't just a personality trait. It's a psychological adaptation. And once you understand why, you'll never look at quiet people the same way again. Silence is not simply the absence of words. It is a psychological environment, one that quiet people have learned to navigate better than anyone else. What appears from the outside as calm or distance is often the result of years of internal calibration. Somewhere along the way, they discovered that speaking too soon, too loudly, or too honestly can cost more than it gives. For many quiet individuals, conversation is not a natural reflex. It's a calculation. They are constantly scanning. Is this person trustworthy? Is this space safe? Is it worth revealing what I'm thinking? This mental screening happens so fast and so consistently that others mistake it for indifference. But silence is rarely apathy. More often, it is self-protection. Quiet people carry a silent burden. The world expects noise. It rewards confidence, speed, and visibility. So when someone doesn't talk much, society labels them incorrectly: shy, cold, antisocial, distant. Yet what's actually happening is far more subtle. They are filtering the world through a system built on caution, discernment, and psychological pattern recognition. They're not afraid of speaking. They're afraid of speaking into a space that won't listen. And here lies the invisible problem. Quiet people feel deeply unseen, even though they see everything. Their silence becomes both the thing that protects them and the thing that isolates them. It's a paradox few notice because quiet individuals rarely explain it. They'd rather carry the misunderstanding than waste energy on the wrong ears. And if what you're hearing already resonates, even a little, if it's opening a door you didn't know existed, consider liking this video. It helps the channel reach more people who need this kind of clarity. There's a story psychologists often share about a man named Elias. In every meeting at work, he sat in the same chair, back straight, eyes steady, hands still. He rarely spoke unless someone asked him directly. His coworkers assumed he was timid, maybe insecure. Some even mocked him for being too quiet to lead. What no one knew was that Elias was doing something none of them were trained to do. He was mapping the entire room. While others raced to speak, he watched the micro-shifts: who leaned forward when challenged, who avoided eye contact when lying, who changed tone when stressed. Every meeting, he gathered data. Every silence was a microscope. One day, the company faced a crisis. A major deal was collapsing, and everyone argued about whose fault it was. Voices rose, alliances formed, panic spread, and while they spiraled, Elias simply observed the tension tightening around one specific manager, the only one who avoided looking at the CEO. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, almost too calm. He explained exactly where the oversight happened, who had tried to hide it, and what steps were needed to fix it. He laid out the entire psychological chain reaction he had been preparing for this exact moment. The room fell silent, not because they doubted him, but because he was right. In that moment, They realized something they should have seen much earlier. The quiet one had been the most aware all along. He wasn't passive. He was collecting evidence. He was reading the emotional temperature the way a navigator reads the weather. This pattern appears everywhere, from negotiation rooms to family dynamics. The quiet person is often the one carrying the deepest map of what's really happening. And if you're fascinated by these hidden architectures of human behavior, consider subscribing to Inner Truth Lab so you don't miss the next insights. Here is the truth most people never realize. Quiet individuals are not quiet because they lack thoughts. They are quiet because their thoughts move too fast for shallow conversations. Psychology calls this high internal processing. It means their mind doesn't operate on the surface level of small talk or reactive speech. Instead, they process information in layers. What was said, what wasn't said, what it implies, what it reveals, and what it contradicts. While most people speak to fill space, quiet people watch the space itself. They read context. They detect emotional undercurrents. Their brains absorb details like a high-resolution camera. Tone inconsistencies, micro-movements, subtle tension, the heaviness in someone's breathing, the slight delay in an answer. To them, communication is not just verbal. It is sensory. This is why they hesitate to speak. Because speaking feels like choosing a single sentence from a library of thoughts, and that choice is not trivial for them. Another layer of insight. Quiet people often grew up in environments where silence was safer than truth. Maybe they dealt with unpredictable parents, judgmental relatives, aggressive classmates, or emotionally chaotic houses. Over time, they learned a survival pattern. Observe everything. Reveal nothing until necessary. And here's the paradox. The world thinks they don't speak because they are weak, but they stay silent because they are strong enough to withstand the need for constant validation. Their mind is their fortress. Their silence is their strategy. And their awareness is their greatest form of intelligence. What looks like distance is actually depth. What looks like shyness is actually discernment. What looks like being closed off is actually being careful with their energy. Quiet people aren't hiding, they're studying. And once you see this pattern, you'll never mistake silence for weakness again. Understanding quiet people is one thing. Living as one is another. Their silence may protect them, but it can also isolate them, leaving important thoughts unspoken and important opportunities untouched. So how do they move through life with clarity, strength, and intention, without betraying their nature? Here are 5 practical shifts that quiet individuals can make while staying true to who they are. 1. Turn observation into strategy. You already see what others miss. Instead of holding everything internally, begin translating your observations into actionable steps, whether in relationships, work, or personal boundaries. Silence becomes power when it produces direction. 2. Speak in moments, not in volume. Quiet people don't need to talk more. They just need to speak at the right time. A single well-placed sentence can shift a conversation, close a conflict, or reveal the truth. Choose moments, not noise. 3. Protect your energy intentionally. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Choose 2 or 3 people in your life who have proven reliability, and let them in just 10% more. A small opening can change everything without overwhelming your inner world. 4. Create environments where you can think clearly. Quiet individuals thrive in calm spaces. Design your routines around solitude, morning clarity, evening reflection, silent work blocks. Your mind sharpens when the world quiets down. 5. Stop interpreting silence as weakness. You are not less for speaking less. You simply operate on a wavelength the majority hasn't learned to tune into. What you call hesitation is actually precision. What you call distance is actually depth. What you call overthinking is actually high-resolution awareness. And here is the emotional hit most quiet people never hear. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply processing life at a deeper speed. If this touched something in you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever noticed this pattern in yourself or someone else? Your perspective might help someone reading. Silence can be powerful, but every form of power carries a shadow. And for quiet individuals, the danger is subtle. The same psychological strengths that help them observe the world can also turn inward and become weapons against themselves. The first risk is overinterpretation. When you see more than others, it becomes easy to read too deeply into words, expressions, pauses. A neutral comment can feel like criticism. A delayed text can feel like rejection. Without boundaries, your gift for perception becomes a trap of imagined meanings. The second risk is emotional self-containment, keeping everything inside because vulnerability feels unsafe. Over time, this creates psychological pressure, the kind that leads to burnout, resentment, or silent suffering. Being quiet should be a choice, not a cage. Then there's the darker ethical risk, using silence to gain the upper hand. Some quiet individuals learn that withholding information gives them control, that observing without participating creates asymmetry. And while observation is a strength, using quietness to manipulate others, by staying vague, by revealing nothing, by keeping people slightly off balance, can damage relationships and trust. Even stillness can be misused if it becomes a tool for emotional distance rather than clarity. Another danger is being overlooked by the wrong people and valued by the wrong ones. Predatory personalities are drawn to quiet individuals. They see them as easier to influence, easier to speak over, easier to dominate. On the other hand, healthy people may misread your silence as disinterest and slowly drift away. Quietness needs boundaries, or it becomes misunderstood from both sides. And perhaps the deepest ethical warning is this: do not let silence become your identity. You are quiet by habit, by adaptation, by intelligence, not by destiny. Silence is a tool, a shield, a refuge, but it should never replace your voice entirely. Use it wisely, use it consciously, use it in service of truth, never to escape it. In the end, silence is not the absence of a voice. It is the presence of an inner world so vast, so intricate, that speaking requires intention. Quiet individuals walk through life carrying entire landscapes within them, memories arranged with precision, emotions filtered through layers of meaning, thoughts woven like constellations in a sky only they can see. They are not empty, they are full, sometimes full to the point where words feel too small. And perhaps this is the greatest truth of all. The quieter someone is on the outside, the louder their inner dialogue tends to be. Their solitude isn't loneliness, it's a workshop. Their pauses aren't gaps, they are calculations. Their stillness isn't distance, it's presence in its purest form. Quiet people often become the memory keepers of a family, the invisible anchors of a group, the ones who sense the shift in someone's tone before anyone else even notices there's something wrong. They carry an emotional radar tuned to frequencies most never hear, and though they rarely announce it, they feel deeply, sometimes deeper than the ones who speak the most. If you are one of these people, know this: your silence is not a flaw, it is a way of seeing. But remember too that the world is not built to understand what stays unspoken. There will be moments when you must step forward, lift your voice, and let your truth breathe in the open air. Not because noise is required, but because your clarity deserves to be heard. Even the quiet mind must sometimes echo. So walk gently, but not invisibly. Listen deeply, but do not disappear into observation. Speak carefully, but do not let fear choose your silence. In a world obsessed with volume, your depth is rare. Your stillness is strength. And your silence, when chosen, not imposed, becomes a form of power no one can imitate.